So I raced for the first time yesterday in like 7 months because my last race was last year at Minios in Florida. Uh, and I want to make this quick video just to kind of talk about kind of what happened, how it went, but more specifically, kind of what I guess I learned from it and kind of my takeaways. Um, so yeah, that's kind of what I'm going to outline in this video because there was definitely a lot more than I was expecting when it comes to like takeaways and lessons and just like overall how the day went and everything. So overall went pretty good, but yeah, so I'll lay all that out in this video. If you don't know me, I'm Logan Lesser, a national motocross racer, having won over 15 state championships and an amateur national championship. I'm an extreme sports athlete and ran a marketing agency for over 4 years, growing it to $30,000 a month. And while doing so, was able to travel the world living in Cape Town, South Africa, part-time throughout the past few years. And I've spent nearly $50,000 on mentors, coaches, courses, and education, learning from the best of the best in business, fitness, mindset, racing, and so on. Now I'm sharing what I've learned and growing my community, the Champion Protocol, linked in the description below. So to start off, like how I did, I raced in the Open Pro Non-Pro class and then the 250B class. And the 250B class, I went 3-3, so I got 2/3. And then just because of the way that the finishes were and everything, I think I got 4th overall, which kind of sucks, but that's okay. And when it came to the Open Pro Non-Pro class, like I just flat out sucked. Like I don't know what it was, but I just sucked. I mean, one thing was my starts were terrible, like horrible. My starts the whole day were absolutely terrible. But, and I'm being completely honest here, like everything I say to you is completely honest. Like I'm never gonna lie. So you can take it honestly, but I literally have not done a single start or practiced a single start or whole shot in like 7 months. Like my last start off of a gate was at Minios. And by no means were my starts very good there either. But yeah, I just like I have a lot to figure out when it comes to my starts on the 250. My starts like on the other bikes, like when I was on a Super Mini, 125, all that, my starts were pretty on point. Like I was pretty good. Like way back when, my nickname was literally the Whole Shot King. At least like within my family and friends, they'd call me that because I'd get the whole shots all the time. But now on the 250, like I got some things to figure out. I think I need to go up a few teeth on my rear sprocket. I was talking to my dad about that, so I think that's something I might need to do. So yeah, but anyway, so my starts were terrible. Like literally, I was last, like basically last off the start every single time. But every moto, it was actually kind of fun. Like I don't know if you can relate where kind of you get a bad start or maybe you fall early in the race and you kind of just have that like fire inside and you make your way through the pack. Like it's almost quite a bit of fun to be able to make those passes and all that stuff. So that's what I did in basically every freaking moto. But specifically the 250B class, like I got off to like last place start and everything every time. But within like after the first 4 corners or whatever, I was able to get up to like 4th or 3rd place. So I'd say I'm honestly pretty good at that. Like I'm pretty good at finding the hole. Like my dad explained it to me years ago, and he was like, you just need to find the hole and go through it. Like it's actually it's in that movie Cars 3, I think, the animated one. Yes, I'm talking about an animated movie, but it is literally in that where like Lightning McQueen is literally in the middle of all of the tractors or whatever, and the whole idea is that he has to find the hole in order to get through. And that's exactly what I always do. So like I'm paying attention to when that hole opens up and then I immediately go through and everything. So it was pretty fun. It was like maneuvering through a labyrinth or a maze or whatever. But I did that every single time, was able to get up in front pretty fast. But one thing that I will mention right now, like this is one of the important things that I do whenever I approach my racing now, which is something I struggled with big time in the past, so you might relate to this, is in the past, if I got up to a bad start or even a good start, like even if I started up front, those first couple laps, I would almost like freeze. Like I'd ride super stiff, I'd be super nervous, and I just wouldn't be able to ride at my best. And then kind of like halfway through the race, I'd loosen up a little bit and I'd be able to start riding kind of the way I know how to. But that's useless because in the beginning of the race, that's when everybody's clumped together. So if you get a bad start like I did, that's where you need to have that fire under your ass to actually get through and get to the front before the front guys get so far ahead that it's impossible to catch them. And even more important, if you get a good start, you definitely want to be on it, or otherwise you're just going to get passed by everybody. And that's what would happen to me all the time. Like, I'd get a great start, but I'd freeze and everybody would pass me. And then halfway through the moto, I'd actually click into gear and kind of get going again, and then I'd start making passes. But I mean, by that point, everybody was so far ahead of me that I wouldn't be able to get that far up. So that was something I struggled with big time. Whereas now on the gate, like, I've got my systems and what I use in order to get in the zone, which I talk about that in quite a few of my other videos, and I also explain it in my online program and community, which is linked in the description below. By the way, it's completely free to join that right now. At least right now, as of the time I'm making this video, but it will cost something in the future. For people who get in free right now, though, it's free for you forever. So make sure to check that out. But regardless, I use these systems and everything in order to get in the zone and basically just get completely focused and ready to go. And also to like really light that fire under my ass so that as soon as I get off that gate, like, I'm like an animal, like a tiger or a lion or whatever getting through. Like, there's no more freezing. Like, I'm fucking on it. And there's a million people around me, especially those first couple corners yesterday. Like, since I was off to such a bad start, I was in the middle of the pack and there's so much chaos. But even with that, like, I'm so focused and I'm able to see those holes and just get through them and everything. And literally was able to go from last. And it was pretty stacked. Like, there was quite a few people in my classes yesterday. Like, it was almost a full gate. There had to have been at least 20 to 30 of us. So like literally going from basically 20th to 25th or whatever, all the way up to 3rd or 4th within a few corners. Like, literally that's what happened yesterday. So, and it came down to that mentality of fighting like hell within those first couple laps. And that just comes down to getting in the zone and being able to snap into that state, which is just essential. So that's something that I've been able to figure out, which has been extremely helpful. So that was one thing. My starts were terrible. And then another thing is that I was not prepared physically to race. Like, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I should not have raced yesterday. Like, I just shouldn't have. The race was at, I don't know if you can hear that crazy thunderstorm out there right now, but the race was at Sweeney Cycle Park in Brush here in Colorado. And it's by far one of the roughest, I'd say the best, but by far one of the roughest tracks in Colorado in terms of races and stuff. So, I mean, for me to like not have ridden much and not have done any races to all of a sudden just decide to go and do that one, not exactly the smartest move, because there's a very big difference. Like, anybody who's a racer can understand this, or even just a rider. There's a very big difference between being in really good physical shape and being in good racing shape. Like, you have to have the whole package. You got to be strong. You have to have killer endurance. And you also have to have a lot of seat time, because even if you've got killer endurance and you're doing cardio all the time and you're strong and you've been doing weight training all the time, as soon as you jump on a dirt bike, it is like completely different. Like, I don't know the science behind it and all the like specific fitness aspects behind it and the muscle groups and all that stuff, but it is completely different. Like, you actually have to have seat time in order to be ready to go out and actually race for a straight 15 to 20 minutes with your heart rate that high and all of your muscles being used and everything for that long. Like, it's a completely different game. Like, it is that's one of the challenges of the sport, and I love that. But regardless, I was not prepared. Like, I'm in pretty solid physical shape, I'd say. Like, I'd say I'm honestly in really good physical shape, looks wise and everything, and strength wise, but I haven't done an ounce of cardio in who knows how long. Like, I don't even know if I've run on a treadmill this year. So, because I haven't been preparing for any races. So I haven't done like any cardio. And then this whole year, I think I've ridden like 4 times total, something like that, not including yesterday. So, like, definitely didn't have the seat time. So I just overall was not prepared. So the main lesson or takeaway I got from it is that before I do any more races, because it's also a safety thing, because my 3rd race yesterday, because I did 4 total motos because I was in 2 classes, my 3rd one was honestly kind of dangerous because my body was exhausted. Like, I was out there basically surviving, which, by the way, whenever I'm in that type of situation where, like, maybe I'm on a super rough track like it was yesterday, and I'm exhausted, I'm tired, like I barely have anything to give, I shift my mentality to focusing specifically on hitting the smoothest lines possible, like finding really creative and smooth lines so that I'm not using as much energy and I'm able to ride the track a lot smoother, and it's safer. Like riding those smoother lines is also going to be a lot safer. But more importantly, I also focus on my technique. Like when I was out there in that third moto yesterday, I was just exhausted. Like I was literally in survival mode. The main things going through my head was focused on squeezing my feet as much as possible, because that would allow my upper body to relax a little bit more versus being so stiff, and then my arms will pump up like crazy, and at that point I can barely hang on, and that's where it can get like really sketchy and dangerous. So I was focusing like make sure to squeeze my feet so that obviously doesn't happen, and my upper body can stay kind of loose and everything. And then also just the factor of that, like you need to be squeezing your legs and your feet to keep control of the bike and everything, especially on the rough conditions. So there's that. And then also I talk about it in a lot of my videos, but some of the main things I focus on when I ride is no rear brake, no clutch, and feet on the pegs at all times. Like that's what I do. That's how I ride. That's what works for me. And I just made sure to focus on that, and that allowed me to ride way smoother and way better versus if I fell into my bad habits of putting my leg out in the corners or using the rear brake or using the clutch. That's where I'm super jerky, and then I'm using more energy, and then it goes back to that factor of like, then I'm going to just stiffen up and my whole body is going to just be like done. So that's what I focus on whenever I'm in those situations, and that's what I had to do in that third moto yesterday. So that was tough, but the root of that problem is the fact that I just wasn't prepared. So moving forward, going into future races, like I'm going to focus on making sure I've gotten plenty of seat time in so that I'm actually like in good riding and racing shape. So lots of seat time, which can be tricky. Like obviously it's not easy to just go out to the track and ride a lot, you know? So that's the tricky part. The other part that's a little bit easier to implement is doing a lot of cardio. Like I'm going to be focusing on doing a lot more cardio, a lot of running, a lot of rowing, a lot of just stationary bike, maybe do some mountain biking, whatever. So that's the other thing. So a lot more cardio and just a lot more seat time and everything, because I just need to be more prepared physically and stuff. But aside from that, like I honestly think the day was really good. The last thing I did want to mention, which by the way, I'm gonna have a like vlogs type video coming out probably soon after this, because I kind of recorded throughout the day and everything yesterday, so that'll be interesting to watch as well, kind of like as I was in it, because now I'm just kind of recapping it. But the last thing I wanted to mention is that third moto was terrible. Like that was the one that was horrible. I had no energy, and like I was getting passed by guys who I've always beat my whole life. So that was a knife to the ego. I was like, fuck. But regardless, after that moto, I'm going to be completely honest here. In my head, when I was riding back to my truck and everything, I was like, fuck this. I'm done. Like I'm done for the day. I'm exhausted. Like it's almost dangerous for me to go back out there, all this stuff. Like I literally wanted to pack up and leave. Like that's what was going through my head when the emotions were high and everything. But once I got back to the camp, or once I got back to the truck and kind of calmed down a little bit and kind of relaxed a little bit and was able to just look at the situation, how the moto went, all those sorts of things, then I kind of reminded myself like, are you kidding me? No, like we don't quit. Like that's not what we do. Like we came to this race, we signed up for these 2 classes, we are going to finish. I don't care if I have to go out in that last moto and just focus on technique and riding smooth and just focus on that. Like I don't care what I have to do, I'm showing up to that last moto, period. Like we do not give up and quit. And that's basically what I ended up telling myself. And then I obviously ended up going to the starting line and racing. However, when I went back up to the starting line, I do think I had more energy all of a sudden. Like I don't know what happened for that third moto. I did just eat lunch and everything, so sometimes that can drain your energy. But that last one, I went up to the starting gate and literally I kind of just was in my head thinking that last moto is not who we are. Like that's not how we show up. That is not how we can ride. That is not how we can perform. Like fuck that. We're not ending this that way. Like we are going to go out there and actually show what we got. And on the gate, like I did my usual system and process for getting in the zone and everything, using my Mint Tic Tac that I talk about in a lot of my other videos and everything. But I used that and everything, got into the right mental state. But this is going to sound super cheesy, but this shit works. Like, it's all mental, I'm telling you. Like, it's 90% mental, 10% physical. And Olympic swimmers, Olympic athletes, like, so many people have talked about this, how much it is mentally. And I know from experience that it is, especially in this example. But on the gate, I literally, like, said to myself, I I said, remember who you are. And I was, like, kind of pissed off, like, in my helmet. I was a controlled pissed off, if you want to call it that. But, like, in my helmet, I was getting ready to go, and like, we had our bikes on and everything, and I literally told myself, like, remember who you are. And it kind of just pissed me off because I was ready to, like, go out there and just actually show what I had and do what I knew how to do. So when I went out there, I had just this next level fire under my ass, and I was in the zone, in my flow. I got off to a terrible start once again, but I made my way up to, I think, third within the first few corners, which was good, or fourth maybe, I don't really know. But I made my way through the pack in the whole race, which it was like a 7-lap moto. So I think it had to have been like 15 to 20 minutes in between there, something like that. Which for somebody who hadn't been doing any racing and stuff, that was fucking difficult. But regardless, the whole moto, like, I was tired. Like, I was tired. My body was tired, but I fought through it the whole time and just kept freaking pushing the entire time. And I was specifically focusing once again on my technique and on riding smooth and finding the creative lines. Like, sometimes in the past, I would kind of just, like, fight through it, and I just fight through the rough lines. But that's probably not faster. Like smooth is fast, so that's probably not faster, and it's exerting a lot more energy. Whereas out there, I was looking for the really creative lines, and I was taking those, and they were a lot smoother and they were a lot faster. So that was another thing I was focusing on, was the lines I was taking. And then I was also just making sure to focus on my technique. Like, I had to focus on squeezing my feet so that my arms didn't get crazy arm pump and my body didn't get as tired. I needed to focus on my feet on the pegs, no rear brake and no clutch, because I knew I would ride smoother and faster that way. But the whole time, like, I kept pushing because my mentality was just, I was in the zone and in my flow because of my system that I use in general. But B, I just had that, like, that fire mentality, or that relentless mentality the whole moto, where anytime those thoughts came to mind of, like, oh, I'm really tired, I'm exhausted, like, I fought through that. And I also used some of my visualization stuff that I've talked about in previous videos, where I visualized the scene from Creed 2 where I think it's in Creed 2 where he's got, like, Creed is in the boxing ring, he's on the ground, his ribs are, like, broken, and he's there, and all of a sudden, like, he just remembers, like, why he's doing this or whatever, and then he starts punching the ground, like, just with this fierce relentlessness, like, just punching the ground to put his ribs back into place. He gets up, and then he just absolutely destroys the opponent. So I reminded myself of that scene while I was out there, because that particular scene hits me hard and just, like, reignites that fire within. So that's kind of what I did the whole moto, and just ended up pushing the whole time. And the overall thing is, like, after that, the feeling I had was awesome. Like, I know I could have done better. Like, I honestly know I could have won. Like, I just know that. Like, I'm 100% confident I could have won yesterday if I was more prepared physically and had more seat time and everything. Like, I know for a fact. So I know I could have done better, but I was really pumped with how I performed, with where I'm at physically and everything, and the preparation that I had leading up to it. And specifically, I was super proud of that last moto. Like, that last moto was absolutely killer, and I went out there and did what I actually know how to do, and got into that mentality that I know how to get into, and it was just kick-ass. So, like, after that moto, I was super pumped. So yeah, but anyway, that last part, I know that was kind of a long explanation, but the important thing is to just never give up, like, period. Like, do not quit, do not give up ever, and learn how to kind of get into that mentality, because that's the only reason I was able to go out there and perform in that last moto. Because something I used to do in the past is, a lot of times when my day's not going super well, my last moto, I'd go out there and I just wouldn't have that fire, and I'd give in to the tired feeling, and I'd go and just ride around. Like, I basically would give up. Whereas yesterday, like, I had that third moto that was terrible, and I was exhausted, and I was convinced that I was fucked because I thought I was just exhausted and I had nothing else to give. But I just was able to click into that mentality for that last moto, that like I found that extra, you know how it's that give 110% or whatever. I found that extra 10% that I didn't think I had before. Like I found that, was able to channel it, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's really just about figuring that out and figuring out that mentality part. But anyway, I know this is a pretty long video, so holy shit, 20 minutes. If you watched it up until this point, then I appreciate it, and hopefully you gained something from it. But with that being said, feel free to subscribe for more videos like this. I'm going to be releasing that vlog from yesterday. I'll be releasing that within probably the next few days, so look out for that. And then also, if you're a racer athlete, definitely check out my online program and community. Links in the description below. There's a lot of really killer stuff in there. There's a weekly call with me where you can like ask me questions. Other people are asking questions, all those sorts of things. Lots and lots of mindset courses and just content in there that is going to basically break down my exact system for how I get in the zone when I'm racing, and just a lot of mindset frameworks I use in everyday life, at the gym, racing, training, everything. So it's honestly really, really killer what's in there. So definitely check that out. But with that being said, I will see you in the next video.